The 2015 Subaru Forester. The most award-winning small SUV with better fuel economy than competing models. And the certainty down the road you expect from a Subaru. The 2015 Subaru Forester. It's a whole lot to love.
Come see what everybody loves at Cruise Subaru.
And maintain the love with complimentary maintenance included only at Cruise Subaru on Rivers.
In Mount Pleasant, we don't limit happiness to an hour. We let it stretch out wide. From sunrise tea times on world-class courses to afternoon walks through history and evenings at some of the country's best restaurants. All this in just 5 minutes to the beach and downtown Charleston. Set your watch to happy time, y'all, and come on over.
Live from Charleston, South Carolina, it's the Houston Dynamo and Charleston Battery in the opening game of the Carolina Challenge Cup. Alongside Sebastian Salazar, I'm Matt Peterson, delighted to be here. Maybe the most highly anticipated Carolina Challenge Cup in its 12-year history.
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? They said that the first game tickets were sold out by January 31st. I believe that's the fastest sellout in Carolina Challenge Cup history. So a lot of anticipation, 2 new teams coming into MLS. They brought their star power with them here to South Carolina. So a lot of the locals and a lot of traveling fans too. That's what I've been most surprised by. A lot of purple Orlando City jerseys out there. So the traveling fan bases have really made a point to get out and get to this great event.
Hundreds from Orlando, a few hundred from New York City FC. They'll play the nightcap. A lot of humility from Charleston Battery. They always play the nightcap in their home tournament. They elected to take the undercard, if you will, and leave the 7:30 kickoff to the 2 newest teams to join MLS, NYCFC and Orlando City SC.
Probably some good strategic marketing there. You got Kaká coming into town. You got David Villa. These stars you want to put under the primetime lights. And Blackbaud Stadium, really just the Charleston area in general, the perfect spot for preseason. Matt, you and I talk about this all the time. We annually wait for this trip, this tournament, this event. Charleston, what an incredible host in the Battery. They just do an excellent job putting on this tournament.
And really one of the first to ever stage something of its kind here in the United States. 12th annual tournament here at Blackbaud Stadium, and a lot of other tournaments have sprung up. Austin, Tucson, other parts around the United States, Portland hosting the Simple Invitational as well. But you could say the standard bearer started here in Charleston.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the first privately funded soccer-specific stadium in America. People always talk about Crew Stadium, and obviously that was the first in MLS, but I believe this opened a few months before that great venue up in Columbus, and it's really a testament to the long history of soccer here in South Carolina, and specifically the Charleston area.
One of our players to watch tonight for the Dynamo, it's the captain entering his 14th season. Brad Davis was with the U.S. national team at the World Cup last July and played against Germany in the final group stage game. Our player to watch for Charleston is Dane Kelly. He's the club's leading scorer each of the last 2 seasons. Jamaican and a lot of pace up front, Sebastian.
Yeah, every year when we come here, we say, wow, I can't believe Dane Kelly isn't in MLS yet. He's one of those guys, just electrifying pace, can get behind a defense, cause you all sorts of trouble, and he finishes, like you mentioned, the leading scorer for the Battery last year, 10 goals, tied for 7th in USL Pro, what was then known as USL Pro. We should make a point. They've rebranded to just USL. And that was also picked up first team all-league honor. So this is a guy that has a lot of respect, and anybody who's come to this tournament has seen him stack up quite well against MLS competition.
The Dynamo have been in preseason for just about a month, much shorter for Charleston. They broke camp about 9 days ago, a 3-day sort of mini opening, and then a smaller group taking on a few local colleges, including College of Charleston. One real scrimmage under their belts against Jacksonville Armada just a few days ago. But Dynamo, you would expect to be a little bit fitter tonight, and Charleston looking to maybe spring an upset.
Yeah, we were just talking to Charleston head coach Mike Anhauser, and he was kind of telling us, that his team is in some way at a disadvantage just because they're getting to this late. But the guys love it. It's obviously a great opportunity for them to showcase their talents against an MLS team, perhaps for a future employer. Look, the Battery have placed a ton of players in Major League Soccer. So this is a fertile breeding ground for the type of talent we would like to see eventually in the top tier of the American game.
You see the Queens and Revenge, one of the supporter groups here in Charleston. And the team's about set for kickoff. Dynamo will wear their ever-present orange, the Battery in their yellow and black uniforms. A sellout expected, but with about 4.5 hours of soccer on hand, some will arrive midway through this game and set for the nightcap. There's our whistle. We're underway from Charleston, the first of 2 games.
Interesting to see a couple switches here with the Dynamo. The first thing that you notice, Matt, is Brad Davis on the right side. Usually see him on the left. Boniek Garcia goes from right to left. So a little change from new head coach Owen Coyle, just trying to mix things up here in preseason.
An early ball from Raul Rodriguez, looking for Chandler Hoffman. And here is Captain Brad Davis, sees it out. It's a similar lineup for Owen Coyle from the one that played Wednesday against Austin in a 1-0 scrimmage defeat. Same back four. Will Bruin starts again. Chandler Hoffman gets a start this evening. There's DeMarcus Beasley. That's Taylor Mueller winning it from Boniek Garcia. Just underway from Blackbaud Stadium here in Charleston. As Taylor goes back to Joe Willis.
Joe Willis, one of the guys to keep an eye on. There's only one goalkeeper can start, and between he and Tyler Derrick, they're going to have to decide that. Seems like a pretty open competition. 2 guys who are have some experience, not a ton of it, but they both have small bodies of maybe starting work, but all indications have been that they're pretty good. Joe got a lot of run in 2012, 2013, a lot of run with Richmond last year, and of course, we know what Tyler did at the end of the season, replacing Tally Hall. Had some incredible games. You got to go back to that penalty kick stop in Toronto. I mean, that was one of the best moments of the Dynamo season for me.
And Tyler's been waiting for this moment. You could say Joe's been waiting for a starting opportunity as well. It should be a good last few games, and we'll see who gets the starting nod March 7th against Columbus. That's the Dynamo's opening game. Boniek Garcia in the middle working with Jermaine Taylor. Charleston backing off here in the early going.
Talk about the quality on this World Cup roster, on this Dynamo roster. You got 3 guys on this field that played in the World Cup: DeMarcus Beasley, Luis Garrido, and of course the captain, Brad Davis.
Rodriguez at the back. Give up an own goal in the closing minutes against Austin. I thought a real cruel twist of fate. He had such a nice performance before that, sort of a breakdown at the back for the Dynamo, and came off his legs into the net for a upset from Austin.
Rodriguez, probably one of the more important off-season signings to the Dynamo. You look at kind of where this team came undone last year, and it was really in the center of defense. Raul Rodriguez brought in, will partner with Jermaine Taylor today, see how that combination works.
How is Quinton Griffith on this near side? Reading Garrido switching ball. The Dynamo back in possession with Kofi Sarkodie, entering his 5th season with the team. The Dynamo were in Tucson, 3 games, 2 wins and a draw. They came home, played their academy, and then Austin on Wednesday. First defeat of the preseason was against Austin. Dominant performance, just couldn't find the back of the net. Jason Johnson hit the post, Bruin had a few chances, and then Austin, without really testing Tyler Derrick all afternoon, got the late goal. But I think a good learning lesson. Owen Coyle said after, it's a good time to lose a game that way in preseason.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds you that for all you can do over 90 minutes dominating, creating chances, soccer is an unforgiving sport. If you don't finish when you get the opportunity, more often than not, you're going to leave points on the table.
Set piece here. It's Justin Portillo, the former Coastal Carolina player, targeting Sean Ferguson at the back post. That's a 6'4" center back, and Jermaine Taylor concedes the corner kick.
Always interested on these set pieces to see kind of how teams set up, especially under a new manager. You never know how that manager takes to zonal marking, man-to-man marking. So interesting to watch these set pieces in preseason.
Ball over the top. Chance there for Charleston. It was man at the back post. Once again, Sean Ferguson, and nearly an opening goal for the Battery.
And Marcus Beasley here going to have a chance to work with Boniek Garcia down that far left side for the Dynamo, and that's a couple of really dynamic players capable of getting up and down the wing, interchanging, overlapping runs from DMB. Expect some of that today.
Taylor targeting Beasley. Beasley against Mueller. Now Boniek on this left side, as Sebastian pointed out at the opening. Nathan Sturgis from distance. It's out for a Charleston goal kick. Good to see Sturgis back with the Dynamo. Certainly well traveled, but a great skill set. Former U.S. U17 international. Chivas last season, Colorado prior to that, but he was with the Dynamo in 2012, big part of their CONCACAF Champions League run.
Yeah, one of those guys that maybe doesn't get the credit or a lot of ink wherever he goes, but you kind of feel like he's always going to have a job in Major League Soccer. He can play in a couple different spots, in a couple different roles, and I think that's very valuable to teams as they try and squeeze things under the, what was the former salary cap.
Taylor with Rodriguez. Rodriguez 4.5 years with Espanyol in Spain. Joined the Dynamo just before preseason opened.
Exciting time in this league. You're starting to get players playing in their primes in the top leagues in the world that are coming here. You look at a guy like Sebastian Giovinco in Toronto, and not to compare Rodriguez and Giovinco, obviously different numbers salary-wise and different playing resumes, but those players coming into this league, maybe not your Kakas, your Thierry Henrys anymore, but those players I think will really help set Major League Soccer up to take the next step.
Bruin pressuring. That's the goalkeeper, Adisnell Cooper, 22-year-old Cuban, part of the group that defected in Toronto in October 2012, a World Cup qualifier between Cuba and Canada, and certainly Charleston has taken advantage. Several players on this roster, Cuban defectees from that night in Toronto, as Kofi Sarkodie draws a foul on this near side. Here's Sturgis. Now Garrido. Garrido in behind, through the area. An important clearing header that time. That was Taylor Mueller. Boniek with Beasley. Beasley, great balance, but a lot of yellow and black shirts in the area. Garrido for Davis. And a handball called in the end.
Interesting to see Luis Garrido getting that far up the field. That's something we really never saw in 2014. I remember talking to Luis about if he wanted to add more elements to his game, trying to draw a story out of him maybe, and he admitted he kind of likes to keep it simple, likes to know his role and really embrace that. But, that right there, getting down to the end line, that can mix some things up. It can give you a numerical advantage in a certain very dangerous part of the field. And I'm sure as we see him get more and more accustomed to his teammates, to this league, you're probably going to see him let his hair down a little bit more and get forward.
Yeah, we'll also see, Sebastian, as Sturgis turns it over. Here's Dane Kelly. Kelly from distance, no problem there for Joe Willis. But Wednesday, Austin kept 9 or 10 behind the ball almost the entire afternoon. Dynamo a chance to try to break down a very well-organized group. And it looks early on like Charleston, a similar situation. Not committing a lot forward, same level, USL. So it might be a very similar type of problem to deal with tonight as the Dynamo had on Wednesday when they ultimately couldn't find the net against Austin.
Yeah, I hate to say that the Battery are taking a conservative approach because it seems to be what they do here. Through 60 minutes, they'll kind of slow you down, and then all of a sudden they get going. And late in games, they've had a tendency to get some goals on this MLS competition and maybe steal a result towards the end of a game.
9 minutes gone scoreless here at Blackbaud Stadium in Charleston. A lot of excitement around these parts. 49 credentials issued for tonight's game. A lot of good scrambling being done by the host, Charleston Battery, to accommodate all the media.
Yeah, the overflow media may have to go down to the Three Lions pub, which is not such a bad place.
Not a bad place to watch a game. And speaking of pubs, Lucky's Pub in Houston hosting a Dynamo fan event this afternoon with supporters groups, including El Batallon and the Brickwall Firm. A few hundred fans, I'm sure, enjoying this game. Welcome to the broadcast, Dynamo faithful.
Yeah, in my time in Houston, I live right there in Edo in the lofts at the ballpark right across from Lucky's. So we had some great times down at that bar during the World Cup. Really kind of became Houston's U.S. men's national team viewing bar. And, boy, those are some wild games, especially the opener against Ghana. There was more Budweiser poured on the floor that day than anything else.
Sebastian, of course, hosting some events there for CSN Houston. Dynamo players in attendance.
We had David Horst come by. We had Bun B. We had DeAndre Hopkins, Texans wide receiver. Had kind of an eclectic mix. Andrew Driver came. Tally Hall was there for a game or two. Giles Barnes came by. So, you're always connecting MLS to the world game, and certainly this summer was great with how many players from Major League Soccer were on Jurgen Klinsmann's final 23-man roster.
Mike-Al Chang, the 23-year-old Cuban on that right side for Charleston. Good settle by Davis. Finds Sturgis. Sturgis trying to bend that ball in front of Bruin. Bruin pressuring. In the end, just too much contact with Sean Ferguson, a Rock Hill native up the road, about 3 hours north near Charlotte.
Ferguson's a big guy, 6'4", 200 pounds. I think Will had him in a pretty uncomfortable spot right there, kind of had him heading towards the sideline without very many options, but they got intertwined there. Down goes Ferguson. The call goes against Will Bruin. But you like to see that pressure from your forwards. It really sets that high line and kind of allows everybody else, the midfielders, the defenders, to push up the field and at least change the dynamic of where the game is being played.
And Sebastian, that was something we saw a bit on Wednesday against Austin. The Dynamo pressing very high against an untested group like Austin early in its preseason, trying to force the turnovers in their own defensive end. Dane Kelly with the big switch, out wide right. And a long-distance effort there. That's Quentin Griffith, the 22-year-old. He's the captain of the Antigua and Barbuda national team, already 31 caps.
Yeah, think about that. A 22-year-old captain of a national team. That's pretty impressive for that young man. And talking to Coach Anhauser before the game, he was saying, hey, my outside backs, we like to get them up. They got a lot of speed. You've already seen on the left side, too, with O'Brien Woodbine, the Jamaican. Looks more like a left midfielder than a left back. But these two guys can certainly get up. They've got the pace. And as much as we talk about, the Dynamo getting forward out wide, there's also those defensive responsibilities.
And as we discussed with Coach Anhauser, a good chance for the Dynamo to get a chance to play against a team that might play similar to Columbus Crew on March 7th. Columbus likes getting their outside backs forwards, most notably Waylon Francis, and Charleston might offer a decent practice rehearsal here tonight. There's O'Brien Woodbine played with New England Revolution about a season and a half before joining Charleston for this year. Good touch from Sturgis. If Garrido loses it, he'll usually find a way to get it back.
Yeah, there's plenty of fight left in that dog. And this is a bad sign down here on the near side of the field. You got Dane Kelly down, clutching his right knee as play continues.
Both teams seemingly unaware. Kelly well back on the other side of the field.
And you can see the Dynamo manager, Owen Coyle, hollering to his guys to knock the ball out of bounds, but it's on the opposite side of the field. Kelly up now, so that's a good sign.
Kelly jogging back towards midfield. Davis in possession for the Dynamo. Scoreless here, 14th minute. The Dynamo and Charleston Battery. Bruin for Hoffman. Hoffman trying to weave his way through, and Bruin pulls it high and wide.
The Hoffman-Bruin pairing, an interesting one. Two guys who have some similar tendencies, some similar characteristics. Let's maybe say it better that way. But Will is one of those guys, you look at the statistics, and they're pretty overwhelming. I mean, one of the most successful starts to a career for an American forward in Major League Soccer history. And yet you listen to some fans, and they're disappointed by the final numbers, the perceived lack of production. But, historically, Will has had a great open to a career and really unrivaled amongst comparable players.
Yeah, 35 goals, Sebastian, his first 4 years among players drafted in MLS from college. He and Clint Mathis, the only two to reach 35 in his first 4 seasons. Will, a foot injury late last year. He scored his last goal of the season against Sporting Kansas City, then missed the next 8 games before coming back for a few late cameos. But a big season for Will Bruin. He and Kofi Sarkodie each entering their 5th year as they were drafted just a few picks apart in 2011.
What a draft class that was. You get a guy who can score and a lockdown defender out wide. I mean, you really solidify a couple of key parts of your team. And Will has had some bad luck with injuries, and one of the things that maybe people don't talk about enough with Will, I think, is he played through a lot of pain. I mean, it seemed like there was always something, a nick that he was carrying that he was kind of trying to limp through, and so I think that may have hurt his production when he wasn't playing, but also when he was playing. At this level, you need to be at your best as frequently as possible. And last year, when the Dynamo were running out of options, Will would play when he wasn't 100%.
The offside flag comes up. Dane Kelly on the wrong side. Dynamo will restart. One time that stands out in my mind, Sebastian, is 2 years ago, Eastern Conference Finals against Sporting Kansas City. He played on short rest on a hard BBVA Compass Stadium field. Didn't make it to halftime. Had to miss the second leg, but that was clearly a time with the Dynamo short bodies after the upset win in New York a few days prior. Will played through it and had to miss the second leg.
Hoffman unable to hold the ball up there, but he's another guy that has a prolific goal-scoring record. Last year with LA Galaxy 2, 13 goals and 17 appearances in USL play. That strike rate is tough to do no matter the level.
Yeah, it's sort of the new model of the idea of going to USL Pro, scoring a boatload of goals, and then parlaying it to MLS successes. Boniek Garcia tries to put in Chandler Hoffman. Nice play there by Taylor Mueller, preventing the ball. But Dom Dwyer, 15 goals in USL Pro on loan 2 years ago, and then scored more than 20 last season in MLS with Sporting KC. And I'm sure Chandler Hoffman, I believe he told one reporter about a week ago, his goal this year, double-digit goals for the Dynamo after coming over from LA Galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a forward line that's going to be tough to break into, especially when Eric Kubo Torres, who I can't believe we haven't mentioned yet, finally arrives for Houston. But if you can score, and if he can score early on when maybe the competition for minutes isn't quite as tough, it's going to be tough to take him out of the lineup, or at least take him out of the rotation. And I think you saw that. He got 8 appearances all as a substitute last year for the Galaxy, so even in LA, where playing time is really tough to come by, he found some of it.
Davis, good composure, shot from distance right at Adisnell Cooper. So Cooper, you see him hang on to that ball. Interesting story I found. this morning, Cooper, one of the defectees from Cuba, after his first practice with Charleston, Coach Anhauser asked him, "You seem to punch a lot of crosses and shots away. Why is that?" He said, "It's kind of blurry, my vision." So they took him to an eye doctor and realized he was legally blind. So they got him contacts. Prior to that discovery, he just took his glass off before the game. So a man who has a new view on things from in between the pipes.
Yeah, imagine that. I mean, to overcome everything that he had to overcome just to get to the Charleston Battery and then to be a legally blind goalkeeper, it's incredible. A testament to his just kind of raw natural ability. There's a million just bad goalkeeper jokes. We'll leave those for the off-air halftime segment.
Justin Portillo, another set piece. Helped on that time by O'Brien Woodbine. No problem for Joe Willis. Another interesting storyline, Sebastian. The Dynamo, of course, announced an affiliate partnership with Charleston in December. And one might think that one of the three goalkeepers for Houston might be coming here to Charleston. So a guy like a Disnell Cooper might have some serious competition from a MLS goalkeeper coming down on loan.
Sure, you think a guy like Michael Lish, who Tim Hanley picked, essentially hand-picked in last year's college draft. And I've always said this, if it's good enough for Tim Hanley, he's good enough for me.
Yep.
I think Tim Hanley's kind of one of those guys that has just a great eye for goalkeeping talent, also a great ability to develop it. And he picked Lish out of all the goalies in the class a couple years back. So that says enough to me that kid can play. And he may end up here in Charleston. You got to have at least 4 guys sent between the two teams. So I think, it's interesting. The fans here for the Battery may be wanting to get a look at some guys that eventually they'll be rooting for instead of against.
Yeah, Mike Anhauser and the Charleston Battery coaching staff, they'll have a good view at the Dynamo these 3 games. Starting tonight, Wednesday, the Dynamo face New York City FC, and they close out the tournament a week from tonight against Orlando City. So 3 games. Dynamo traveling here with 28 players as Boniek Garcia wins it on the far side, works with Chandler Hoffman. Boniek back to Hoffman. Here's a chance for Hoffman. He could not keep it down as the offside flag came down. So a great individual effort from Boniek Garcia. Hoffman on his preferred left foot. Maybe the best chance of the night for either team.
And I think it's one of the things that was a storyline throughout 2014. There was the build-up to the World Cup, and Boniek Garcia was a big part of the Honduran plans. And then he came back, and there were great moments of individual brilliance, which he gives you every time he steps on a field. But they never ended in a goal or in an assist, and I think fans maybe got a little bit frustrated. That's what you want to see. You want to see him making those moves, taking guys one-on-one, hitting those kind of penetrating through balls in the final third instead of at midfield, which seemed to happen a lot last year. He would pull off the incredible, but it'd be so far from goal that it often didn't have a final impact.
Yeah, Boniek, you would think, reasonably rested. He's still getting calls for the national team, and why not? He was captain for the first time, almost surprisingly in some ways. His 95th cap, first time he wore the captain's armband a few weeks ago in a 3-2 defeat to Venezuela, but he's approaching 100. You figure he'll be part of the Gold Cup team this summer if Honduras gets past their 2-leg playoff. But a player that this offseason probably got the most rest he's had in a long while.
Yeah, and all the guys that go through the World Cup need it. I mean, you talk about it. It was the same with Brad. When he came back, you could tell that there was a little bit of a not necessarily a drop in the level of play, but just in the intensity. You go from preparing for a World Cup, all the nerves of are you going to make the team or are you not going to make the team, especially for a guy like Brad who was right on that bubble. You make the team, you go through this incredible life-changing experience, and then it's back to MLS, and you're dog-tired, especially what the American team went through in Brazil and the camp leading up to the 2014 World Cup. So I think it'll be interesting to see how these guys do with a full season just to focus on MLS.
There's Griffith over the top. Taylor calmly into the stands. And the Battery with the throw-in. Halfway gone in this first half, the Dynamo and Charleston Battery. They'll be affiliates all season long. Dynamo sending players on loan. Battery most recently won the USL Championship in 2012. We're going to get back to the mountaintop.
2010, 2012. Won their respective titles in 96 and 03. I mean, this is one of the storied franchises in American soccer once you get kind of past that top tier. They've been around forever. 1993, along with the Richmond Kickers, the oldest team in this division.
Good work. Chandler Hoffman with Brad Davis. It's a set piece to the Dynamo about 35 yards from goal. You talked about set pieces a bit ago. Sebastian, the Dynamo 9 goals this preseason, 5 from set pieces, 2 though against the Academy. Maybe a bit of an asterisk there, but still, 5 of your 9 goals from set pieces. Several good set piece takers on this team with Boniek and Brad Davis, and Coyle's set pieces have worked out already.
It's always been a narrative around the Dynamo, especially when Dominic Kinnear was here. Oh, they're great on set pieces. Yet in the last few years, I feel like they weren't quite as effective, so if they can bring that back, obviously a huge advantage. Davis
against a 2-man wall into a dangerous spot, and Taylor's header collected at the back by a Disnell Cooper.
You could see what they were trying to do there, get Taylor in front of the original line, have him skim it on. The not-on header a bit higher than probably Taylor would have liked to trouble Cooper. But a perfect delivery from Brad Davis really picked out his man.
I think one interesting thing to watch tonight, Sebastian, is Boniek on the left. First time in my memory he started there since joining the Dynamo middle of 2012. You have DeMarcus Beasley behind him. That's a very interesting dynamic. We've seen it quite a bit with Boniek playing in front of Kofi on the right side, but DeMarcus Beasley and Boniek Garcia, 2 of your most technically gifted players on one side of the field.
Yeah, it's an exciting opportunity because you get to see 2 guys who like to combine and get forward, but it's also something you need to be patient with, right? The understanding of an outside back and his outside midfielder is critical, and guys like Kofi know how to play with a player like Boniek Garcia. Remember, Kofi Sarkodie even went as far as to kind of learn Spanish so that he could communicate better with Boniek when he first came into the team. So there's a lot of hope and a lot of promise out there when you mix things up, but I think you also need to take a little bit more patient approach to really see a duo develop that chemistry.
Of course, Spanish not a problem for Beasley after his time in Mexico. He's a fluent Spanish speaker. Free kick here to Charleston on the far side. Here's the delivery. And dealt with by Davis. Boniek with Chandler Hoffman. Garrido getting forward. Dynamo trying to counter. And good recovery that time at the back. That was Michael Chang, the Cuban, who disrupted the counters. Good play from the right-sided midfielder.
Yeah, that's the other thing. There's a ton of speed on that right side between Chang and Griffith. They can really bomb up and down. A couple of speedsters who will challenge DeMarcus Beasley at the back, especially if he gets isolated, and that's why it's important for Boniek Garcia to continue to stay plugged into the defensive duties.
Davis threads it down the line for Bruin. Bruin cuts inside. Good defending by Ferguson. You know, he didn't get past him, Sebastian. I thought it was a good, confident first touch, though, from Bruin. He wanted to make a play there.
Speaking of confident, how about that from Raul Rodriguez juggling over a attacker at midfield? You like to see that confidence from a center back.
Dante Marini, the victim from the Rodriguez touch.
Marini, another one of those guys. Feel like if you come to this tournament enough, you're going to see him 2 or 3 times. And that's one of the things I think makes the Battery so successful, not just in USL, but in Open Cup. You remember 2008, they got to the final against DC United. There's not as much turnover, I feel like, as maybe some other teams in the 3rd division. You got a ton of guys out here who are in their 2nd, 3rd, 4th season with the club. Zach Prince out here on the left wing in his 6th season with the Charleston Battery. So they're able to keep guys here and kind of build around a core. I think that gives them an advantage.
Here's Dane Kelly against Jermaine Taylor. And it's out for a Charleston throw. And among their notable alumni, of course, Osvaldo Alonso, one of the best central midfielders in MLS, and Lamar Nagel, who I was told by Andrew Bell and Coach Jan Hauser a few years ago, if he gets a chance in MLS, he's going to produce, and he certainly did last year with Seattle.
Sure, these guys, they know how to find talent. Alex Kasky, Mike Azira, another couple guys who have gone on to Seattle. I mean, that pipeline to Seattle you can't ignore.
Looks like a long throw incoming from Woodbine. Dangerously into the near post, and good clearing header from Kofi Sarkodie. Here's Boniek, 1 against 2. Nearly kept it on that far side, trying to find Bruin. It's a Battery throw-in.
Yeah, the service for the forwards has not been plentiful here in this first half. Hoffman and Bruin kind of isolated up top, not really getting a ton of touches on the ball. Certainly not in dangerous areas anyway.
Approaching the half-hour mark, I'm sure Mike Anhauser, the Charleston Battery head coach, is pleased. As we said, they're in about 9 days into their preseason, the Dynamo about a month. So the longer this game stays 0-0, the happier I'm sure the Battery will be, as we saw Wednesday against Austin.
You know, you talked about it being a big year for Will Bruin and came in the same draft class as Kofi Sarkodie. I'd say the same thing about Kofi. I think at that right back spot, you know, there was a time between the Olympic team and maybe a future with the national team where Kofi was getting a lot of love. I think some of that maybe died down over the last year. As an outside back, you're kind of only going to be as successful as your team is. If your team's doing well, then you're a great outside back. And sometimes that's kind of an unfair correlation to draw. But I think Kofi has that potential. He obviously gets up. We always see it every day at practice. One of the last guys to leave, hitting crosses, working on fitness. He, along with a guy like Ricardo Clark. I mean, those two guys, just to me, when I watch the Dynamo, I see a professionalism that's just unmatched around the league, especially in those Houston hot summer days to stay extra another hour. I mean, those guys really put in the work.
Joe Willis stayed back in the end. It's out for a corner kick. Good late run. Dante Marini played at Northeastern University. He stayed with the play, and I think in the end, Willis good to hold his ground there.
A couple guys warming up on the Dynamo sideline here. You got Jason Johnson, been captain of the Jamaican national team, Giles Barnes, and David Horst.
Corner kick for Charleston. Towards the near post, chested down by Bruin. Davis helps it on, and Boniek unable to clear. Yeah, Giles, you mentioned, Sebastian, hurt his thigh in Tucson, coming back. They expect him to be able to play tonight, so we should see Giles for the first time since the Portland Timbers game, a 1-1 draw a few weeks ago in Tucson.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk to him right before the game. He seemed pretty upbeat about where he was with the injury. Said it, now felt more like a bruise than a pull. And also talked to him about his offseason. Last year he came into camp in incredible shape. The secret turned out to be boxing. I asked him if he did it again this offseason. He said, yep, and he's coming even lighter. So Giles Barnes, who had a breakthrough campaign a year ago, I think it's safe to say we can expect similar numbers, maybe even more in 2015.
Yeah, remarkable. He's played in all but one of the 68 MLS games the last 2 years. And last year, a Dynamo field player record, surpassing Jeff Cameron, most minutes by a field player in team history. So a man who had some injury troubles in England has had a change of luck here in MLS. Dane Kelly out wide left to Zach Prince. Prince trying to return it, but the Dynamo back in numbers. And Sturgis right there.
Great job by Sturgis to kind of read where the weakness was in that. Kofi Sarkodie was back there. He did slip, but had Sturgis not been there was some options here for the Battery.
Good strength at the back. Ferguson held off Hoffman. We talked about the traveling supporters. The ball goes over the top and the flag comes up. Not only is it a nice location for supporters, but a lot of these spectators. I met the parents of Chandler Hoffman in the hotel lobby this morning. They drove in from Birmingham. And then even closer, a Dynamo rookie trying to earn a contract. Rob Lovejoy, his parents came down from Greensboro, North Carolina. So not many places too far away from around here.
Yeah, really, if you're a soccer fan in this area, I mean, there's so much great soccer up and down the East Coast, but for the longest time, Major League Soccer's footprint, at least towards the Southeast, ended with DC United. And one of the big pluses of expansion is not just what's happening at the top tier, it's also what you're getting in Charlotte and where you're getting teams elsewhere in the Carolinas, Atlanta coming soon to MLS. I mean, we're really going to see this start to be more of a true full geographic footprint of the United States.
Rodriguez nearly caught in possession, hard charging Dane Kelly there, but bounces the Dynamo away and Taylor there to clean it up. USL Pro, Sebastian, just exploding in this offseason with the a few expansion teams, including St. Louis and Louisville, and then MLS teams adding a second team in Portland and Seattle and Salt Lake, along with Vancouver. 24 teams now in USL Pro, and earlier this offseason, a USL Pro commissioner said they could go up to 40 teams in the next few years. Didn't really put a number on it, but said there's a capacity to do it. Sarkote with Boniek now on this near side.
Yeah, the growth is really exponential. I mean, 14 teams a year ago to 24 in 2015. I mean, to add 10 teams to a league, just from a logistics standpoint, would seem really tough to do. And of those 24 teams, 20 are going to have direct affiliation with Major League Soccer. Only 4 teams don't have that affiliation. You also got to realize that what's happening with USL is they're applying for second division status. So that changes kind of the landscape of American soccer, plus what it means for the USL. Very interesting future, 6 to 8 months, maybe a year in American soccer between what's going on with the MLS and CBA and all that stuff, and then how this plays out between Division 2 and Division 3, the NASL and USL. There's a lot to be decided and a lot that could have a pretty big impact on the future of the game here.
Of course, the Dynamo with plans to start their own USL Pro Club next year. Nothing finalized yet, but that's the hope, that's the goal. Charleston understands that. They know this is, for the moment, a one-year arrangement, but they're hoping to make the most from it. And for some of these Dynamo players that might be coming to Charleston, they get a 9-day preview of this great city.
Yeah, that's got to be a challenge for Coach Anheuser. You've got your team, you build it, and then all of a sudden you get this influx of not just bodies, but talented bodies and guys who, in theory, are here because they need runs. So I always respect the USL coaches for that ability to kind of embrace the guys that are coming in, figure out where they fit, get them the minutes that they need to advance their careers, but also maintain a competitive team for USL.
35th minute, the Battery nothing, the Dynamo nothing. No great scoring chances just yet. Probably the best, Chandler Hoffman on the Dynamo end. Charleston's looked most dangerous off the set piece. Here's Ferguson at the back for the Battery. Garrido finds Hoffman. Wide right, here's Boniek Garcia. Garcia cuts inside, has a few options. Wide right, Sarkote against O'Brien Woodbine. Good service into the box. And Charleston clears the danger.
And that's what I'm talking about from Kofi. Not just the ability to get up and get into the attack and be an extra body, but the ability to consistently whip in that type of service. Hoffman in the neighborhood right there, but it's a dangerous ball right between the edge of the back line and that goalkeeper, always going to make a defense nervous.
Bruin back for Boniek. Garrido again pushing forward, higher than we've seen him since he joined the Dynamo, just a few days apart from Beasley late last July. Great first touch from Davis, but a even better recover. Taylor Mueller. Davis looked bound for goal that time, but a nice play from the Battery center back.
Yeah, how about the build-up pass from Hoffman as well? Nice job there. Put the perfect weight on it to get it to Brad just in stride. Another half step, and I think the Dynamo captain has a good chance to open the scoring there.
See that so much from Davis. That first touch inside the box sets him up for a good chance on goal. And that was just great defending at the back from Taylor Mueller from Sammamish, Washington. Played at University of Washington. Now a man down for the Battery, and look like our first change is forthcoming.
Yeah, I believe that's Zach Prince down around midfield. He'd been playing out here on the left wing for the Battery. Javier Cordovez, another one of the Cuban defectors from that group that defected when Cuba played Canada back in October of 2012, set to come into the game. Really a great story about how these players find Charleston and not just change the course of their careers, but really their lives. And it all goes back to Ozzy Alonso, who famously defected the Cuban national team during a Gold Cup, eventually ended up here, and a few short years later, really didn't take that long, was one of the best players in Major League Soccer. So I think sometimes people say, oh, USL Pro, USL now, NASL, and maybe they disrespect just how close these guys are to that top level. I mean, in many ways, the difference between being a USL player and an MLS player is razor thin.
Yeah, Alonso coincidentally did it at a Walmart in Houston before he arrived in Charleston. Another good thing, Sebastian, with the expansion in USL Pro, gives players more opportunity to stay in professional soccer in the United States. As the Battery get forward, good defending by Sarkoti, Boniek, and Garrido. Strong challenge on this near side. Looked like advantage was played after Garrido, a lot of contact on Prince.
Yeah, and the referee's got that. I think Garrido at some point here is going to get a yellow card. That was a really aggressive challenge and might have actually seen the cleats come up.
Garrido in a good position against Quentin Griffith. Now Beasley getting forward. Behind the play, Prince back on his feet, walking back towards midfield. But several former Dynamo players joining with US All-Pro teams here this season. Among them, Brian Ombie, Anthony Arena. Arena will be back in Pittsburgh.
I believe Anthony was the Riverhounds Defender of the Year last year, right? Had a great campaign up there on loan.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you have Ombie going back to Richmond. I'm sure they'd like to be in MLS, but maybe 5 or 10 years ago they would be out of professional soccer entirely. But with more teams, more options, and maybe a chance for them to get some more playing time under their belt.
Yeah, and it's so important, right? The longer you can keep the more guys playing, the more chances there are for that guy who maybe hits at 24, hits at 26, or who knows, hits at 27, 28, and not only becomes an MLS contributor, but maybe a national team contributor. I think it's just so important to the game. You see it all the time in European countries where guys will come from next to nothing and not just make it to the top flight, but make it beyond to the international game.
Handball at midfield. That was Cordovez. Immediately you see his size, the 25-year-old Cuban. And he drew the handball there on Jermaine Taylor.
Yeah, Cordovez replaces Dane Kelly, and they really couldn't be more different. Kelly, your speedster. Cordovez kind of your ideal target forward. Big body, plays well with his back to goal.
Rodriguez strong in the air. Boniek for Davis. Davis leaves it Sturgis. Sturgis, great ball for Hoffman. Hoffman on his right foot. Able to keep it in. Fierce defending from Ferguson. Now it's Davis once more. Boniek with Davis. Good organized defending from the Battery as they recover their numbers. And it resets to Beasley here in the 41st minute. Here's Griffith. Trying to spring the counterattack. Cordovez against Rodriguez, and he pulls it wide. But a nice counterattack there from Charleston after defending on their own 18, springing a chance moments later.
It's exactly what you want to do. You want to delay the attack as long as you can, get bodies behind the ball, and then spring forward quickly. They did that. Cordovez had a chance there. I like the ambitious effort. I also like what I'm seeing from the Dynamo, and you can tell in midfield there's a lot of fluidity. Brad Davis started out on the right. Now look at him. He's on the middle, in the middle third of the field, and maybe even starting to trend out towards the left. You got Boniek Garcia now switching sides. I think that always complicates things for the team that's defending when guys are moving around all over the place and matchups change without maybe them having the chance to adjust.
Sarkoti with his head up. Good ball towards Bruin. Again, Ferguson there. Hoffman comes to recover, but Ferguson did well there in a 1v2 situation. Now here comes Marini out wide left. Zach Prince for the Battery. Garrido there. Boniek quickly finds Bruin. Bruin here in a foot race with Sean Ferguson. And Ferguson did pretty well. Hoffman harassing. Griffith inside. Rodriguez tangling, and a foul called on the Spaniard. Looked like Marini wanted advantage played there. Dynamo seemed to have quite a few numbers back.
Yeah, Marini checks in at 5'3". He's listed at 125 pounds, but he's got that low center of gravity. So anytime he gets that first step on, you're really tough to win it back.
Wide right, Quentin Griffith. Garrido and Davis. Now it's Hoffman. Very physical center backs for Charleston. That was Taylor Mueller. We've seen Ferguson, but they have the speed on the outside and the kind of the brute strength in the middle.
I was just about to talk about this Charleston back line. They seem to kind of check all the boxes. I feel like we've heard that a million times this MLS offseason, but you do have the burners on the outside, and every physical confrontation between the Dynamo forwards and the Battery defenders, the Charleston guys are not backing down. There's a lot of contact, and I'd say the Battery right now getting the better of it.
J-Red and shakeup. Lucky to kind of avoid injury there. Boniek came flying over him after he slipped on top of the ball, but they play on down this near side. Zach Prince. And Boniek back to Garrido, but Van Schaika, we haven't really said his name yet, but 26 years old, drafted by Real Salt Lake back in 2011, didn't make the team. Now his third season here in Charleston.
Yeah, another one of those guys that Anheuser keeps bringing back and continues to rely on, a very steady presence in the center midfield. Been playing pretty deep in the heart of that midfield so far tonight, hasn't ventured forward too much.
45th minute. Shouldn't be much stoppage time here at the end of the first half. On a cool night in Charleston, it was downright cold the last few days as Hoffman does well to make it troubling for the Battery coming out of the back. The ball eventually rolls out, but it was in the upper teens, low 20s the last few days. Place known for its summer heat and humidity.
Yeah, this is really the perfect time, though, to have this type of event in this city. You've got pretty good weather. It's always between, high 40s, low 70s, ideal for preseason soccer.
O'Brien Woodbine, 15 caps for Jamaica. And we'll have 1 minute of time added on here at the end of the first half. Rodriguez, well read off the throw-in, and too much contact there on the substitute forward, Aviel Cordovez.
Rodriguez just every time the ball comes in kind of showing his class. No matter the pressure that he's under, seems very composed, knows right what he wants to do with it, and has even dribbled out of a couple tricky situations, which is not something we always see from center backs in MLS. It's also something I maybe think coaches don't want to see a lot from their center backs in this league, but Rodriguez seems to have that ability.
Yeah, Rodriguez has been great to deal with since coming over. Not an ounce of pretentiousness or, 5 years in La Liga. Some might come over here and act like they're doing people a favor, but Rodriguez is excited to be here and a new challenge in his career. And there's our halftime whistle. 45 minutes gone. Not a ton of chances in that first half, but a good effort from both teams as they approach the opener of their respective seasons.
Yeah, like you said, not a ton of chances, not a lot of breakdowns. Everything looked pretty solid. A couple turnovers sloppy on each side that maybe led to half chances, but neither goalie really tested. And Joe Willis had his positioning on lock when he was called upon. Same with Adisnell Cooper. Those two guys really not under too much pressure in this one.
Of course, this is game one of our doubleheader tonight. 7:30 Eastern time, the expected kickoff of Orlando City SC and New York City FC, the two new expansion clubs in MLS. They'll meet on opening weekend when the real thing kicks off in a few weeks. They'll meet here tonight in their first ever exhibition game. We'll take our first commercial break. When we come back, halftime show coming up. Halftime from Black Bond Stadium in Charleston. It's the Houston Dynamo 0 and the Charleston Battery 0.
Yeah, yeah.
The 2015 Subaru Forester. The most award-winning small SUV with better fuel economy than competing models. And the certainty down the road you expect from a Subaru. The 2015 Subaru Forester. It's a whole lot to love.
Come see what everybody loves at Cruise Subaru.
And maintain the love with complimentary maintenance included only at Cruise Subaru on Rivers.
In Mount Pleasant, we don't limit happiness to an hour. We let it stretch out wide. From sunrise tea times on world-class courses to afternoon walks through history and evenings at some of the country's best restaurants. All this in just 5 minutes to the beach and downtown Charleston. Set your watch to happy time, y'all, and come on over.
Stadium in Charleston, South Carolina. Sebastian Salazar joined by Matt Peterson after 45 minutes. The Houston Dynamo and Charleston Battery tied at 0. Matt, your thoughts on the first half? No goals, but some action at least.
Yeah, I agree, Sebastian. Charleston obviously defending in numbers. Dynamo trying to break them down, similar to Austin on Wednesday, and the Dynamo trying to find that goal. I think 9 goals this season, 5 from set pieces. You'd like to see maybe a few more chances from the run of play, like the one set up by Boniek Garcia to Chandler Hoffman, but as we see here, no changes for Owen Coyle heading the second half. I think he wants to see this group score some goals and get the result tonight.
This is the kind of transition point in preseason where you go from maybe focusing on the guys at the end of the roster, who's going to be the last guy to make the team, to focusing on what your 11 is going to be on opening day. I mean, we're not far from it, March 7th against the Columbus Crew for the Houston Dynamo. So maybe now is when we start to pay attention a little bit more to formations, partnerships, and what Owen Coyle is actually doing with his lineup.
We'll sort through the changes as we sort them out.
Yeah, lots of changes for the home side, the Charleston Battery in this one as we kick off the second half. Battery 5th place finishers in USL Pro a year ago, 5th out of 14 teams, good enough to make the playoffs. They were eliminated in the first round, the quarterfinals. But Charleston, one of the more consistent teams in the 3rd division of American soccer. Kofi Sarkodie under duress here, trying to work it out of the back through Boniek Garcia. The Honduran Wizard fights through one defender, can't fight through a second as the Battery take over. Direct stuff from Charleston will test Jermaine Taylor. The Jamaican responds. One of many Jamaican internationals on the field tonight for both sides. Jermaine, Dane Kelly, O'Brien Woodbine. Cross in here from Andy Reimer. Looking for some space. Instead, the Dynamo come out playing. Chandler Hoffman, 13 goals a year ago in USL Pro for LA Galaxy 2. Ball in behind for Cordovez. Kofi Sarkodie out to meet him. Cordovez with the left-footed cross. Boy, very close on the header there for Charleston. Austin Savage had the game winner midweek against Jacksonville Armada, Clemson University product. A dangerous player to watch for that Dynamo back line, Matt.
Yeah, another household name among these parts, Austin Savage, been with this club for several seasons.
Charleston winning possession in the corner. It'll be a throw-in for the home side. As you mentioned, Matt, the Battery usually play the nightcap here, but with Orlando City and NYCFC in town, made sense to save the marquee matchup for primetime. Brad Davis down the left flank looking for Will Bruin. Bruin closing down Taylor Mueller, one time away, but right into the path of Nathan Sturgis. Garrido will switch. Kofi Sarkodie wide open on the right side. Garrido wearing the number 8 in the heart of the Dynamo midfield. Sarkodie can't get rid of it quick enough. Houston does maintain possession.
Now we saw some of the numerical changes right at the start of the preseason. More conventional numbers. Kofi Sarkodie going from 8 to number 2. Garrido going from a higher number to number 8. Traditional number for that position. Sturgis at number 6. Alex Lopez going from 10 to 15. Giles Barnes given the number 10 shirt. So a few new numbers for Dynamo fans to get used to heading into this season.
Yeah, you're right about the traditional. Some teams really stick by that. Others don't. Obviously, I guess we get the sense where Owen Coyle falls on it. I love Kofi in the number 2. It's appropriate for the position, a really good fit. And Garrido as well in the center midfield. Brad Davis extremely active off the ball tonight. I don't know if you've noticed that in the first half. He had some great runs, different runs, where he was looking to get in behind. Don't always see that from the Dynamo captain. Will Bruin unable to hold it up. Mueller going to get there first and thump it forward out of bounds, throwing for the Dynamo. 49th minute, 0-0. Few chances really for either side in this one as we open the 12th annual Carolina Challenge Cup. Houston, Charleston, Orlando City, and NYCFC, your 4 contenders this year.
Yeah, if you're Andrew Bell in the Battery, you probably couldn't handpick 4 better teams for this tournament.
Plenty of storylines. Davis into the box. Late challenge. Referee says no foul. Quentin Griffith there to slide take it away from Davis, who's slow to get up in the Charleston box.
Yeah, big decision that time for the referee. He definitely pointed to the spot, indicating that Griffith got the ball, but very close to a penalty there. But in the eye of the referee, a fair challenge.
Yeah, Brad seemed to have a step on Griffith, but Griffith, of course, known as a burner, known as a guy with plenty of speed, makes a quick recovery, and then it's basically an all-or-nothing challenge there. If he gets it, he's the hero. If not, it's absolutely a penalty kick, but nice play from the captain for the Antigua and Barbuda national team. Andy Reimer in the game, working against Nathan Sturgis. Ball out of bounds for Charleston.
Reimer, drafted by the Galaxy 2013, part of that Georgetown team that went to the national final.
Charleston working it down the left side. J-Rad Van Schaik drops it to Portillo. Cordovez now. Ball takes a weird bounce in there. Jermaine Taylor on it. The Jamaican international finds Brad Davis. Nice distribution out of the back for the Dynamo. Davis slowing things down. Houston with a chance to break out there. Instead, they'll keep calm, maintain possession. Beasley all the way back to Joe Willis. Willis left-footed. Quick swing pass to Raul Rodriguez. Played for Espanyol, went up against the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, so he's been tested against the best in the world.
There you see another change for Charleston. Sebastian, a man with a similar name, Sebastien Suri, the Haitian, comes in right in the middle of the park. We'll keep an eye on him, number 8, right in the mix against his opposite, number 8, Luis Garrido.
Ball coming all the way back here into the Charleston end. Cleared away. Dynamo going to have an opportunity to really put some pressure on the Battery goal here in the 52nd minute. 0-0. Neither attack has created much to speak of so far here tonight. Boniek Garcia momentarily behind the defense. Drops it to Bruin. Into Hoffman. Good hold-up play from the former LA Galaxy 2-star. Kofi Sarkodie on the right side with Boniek Garcia. Those two have a great relationship. Kofi taken down in the box. Maybe better said, falls down in the box. No call from the referee. Cordovez, the big body, battling against Rodriguez on the far side. The Dynamo newcomer wins it, and here comes Houston. Sarkodie racing forward, going to earn a corner kick. No, goal kick for Charleston.
Yeah, the Dynamo, Sebastian, despite dominating possession, unofficially 64% of that first half, yet to have a corner kick. Definitely some set pieces in that first half, but a bit surprising. No corners yet, 52 minutes into this game.
Sarkodie will head it forward here. Hoffman applying pressure. Battery not just making some subs, but moving guys around. And here they've got a 2-on-1. Battery, the potentially dangerous break. Comes out to Andy Reimer. Reimer turning will go against 4-time World Cup veteran DeMarcus Beasley, who momentarily loses his footing. Garbanzo with a quick touch back. Justin Portillo on the ball for Charleston. Looking for an outlet. He finds it in the form of Quentin Griffith. The speedster charging down the right wing. Goes past Brad Davis. Now past DeMarcus Beasley. Griffith with an opportunity to cross. Sends it to the back stick. Header back across. Joe Willis lets it roll past that far bar. 54th minute, perhaps one of Charleston's best opportunities here tonight as the Battery begin to threaten in the second half.
Yeah, Sebastian Austin Savage at that back post. Right after he came on early in this half, he had that chance, but maybe the most numbers committed forward on a break so far for Charleston.
Will Bruin challenging for the header, unable to win it. DeMarcus Beasley, good first touch, drops it to Garrido. Nathan Sturgis Once a Dynamo, again a Dynamo. You notice Garrido and Sturgis both sitting pretty deep in this midfield, Matt.
Yeah, we'll see. It seems like the new central midfielder, Sebastian Thury's brought a lot of energy in, has already made a few plays. So maybe just sitting back, seeing any kind of tactical changes the Battery have made since the halftime break.
For Dynamo fans wondering about Ricardo Clark, we're told nothing serious, just a little bit under the weather. So no worries there for the World Cup veteran from 2010. Goal kick to the Dynamo as DeMarcus Beasley wins a one-on-one battle in the corner. 55th minute, 0-0. Sebastian Salazar, Matt Peterson with you here from Blackbaud Stadium. Broadcast brought to you by Tourbeau Sports Group. Dynamo really sending their entire bench now through the paces on the near sideline. Expect to see some substitutions from Owen Coyle here over the next half hour. Joe Willis bombs it forward. Hoffman can't quite knot it on. Rodriguez, another classy touch to begin the Dynamo attack.
Yeah, Sebastian, looks like Horst, Barnes, Cochran, Alexander Lopez, and Zach Steinberger among the group about to come on, maybe around 60th minute mark.
Davis trying to flick it past Griffith as the opposing number 11s do battle on the near sideline. Sturgis, good first touch. Sets up Boniek with space. Boniek running at Portillo. Kofi Sarkodie, one-on-one with Van Schaik, trying to get to the end line. Can't do so, loses his footing. Well defended from Van Schaik there. Van Schaik playing in a central midfield role in the first half has dropped into the left back position. Just gets a touch there, and good thing he did for fans of the Charleston Battery because Boniek Garcia was lurking with plenty of space and time to do damage. Griffith, direct ball down the right sideline. Garbanzo chasing after it, Taylor to it first. And the Dynamo no trouble as Joe Willis chooses to build out of the back with Luis Garrido.
Sebastian, it's interesting. Ricky Garbanzo, obviously Charleston has a good time with a lot of the local schools, but Garbanzo, a great career at Coastal Carolina, 94 games, both in Big South history, 13 goals in his sophomore and junior seasons, and this year was the Big South Attacking Player of the Year. So I'm interested to see what he has here in the second half as he lost it there to Taylor, but really a prolific career there. Nice run for Coastal Carolina, 2 Sweet 16 visits, 4 NCAA tournament appearances, and really Garbanzo was the guy there. You don't see many college careers go over 90 games, but Garbanzo accomplished that.
One of the many talented players on what looks to be a deep Battery roster. Speaking of deep, here are your subs coming for the Houston Dynamo. David Horst, A.J. Cochran, likely to pair in the center of the Dynamo defense. Alex Lopez, Giles Barnes in midfield, along with Zach Steinberger, a guy who, Matt, you were telling me has really impressed in the first few months of his MLS career.
Yeah, you know, I think he had a few moments in Tucson against a very athletic midfield in Portland that maybe the game was a little bit too fast for him, but a good learning experience playing against Vancouver, Portland, and San Jose, 3 Western Conference foes. Now he comes into this game in a sort of a different setting as Coyle makes 6 changes here around the 58th minute.
An announcer's nightmare. Kofi Sarkodie comes off. Nathan Sturgis as well. Jermaine Taylor. Chandler Hoffman, Will Bruin. Alex Lopez. Matt, let's talk about him a little bit. Came over. Lots of hype, lots of expectations, perhaps too much. He was a young player, part of the Honduran Olympic team in 2012 at the London Games. The Dynamo paying over $1 million to bring him to Major League Soccer, and never really found his footing. But reading some quotes from Owen Coyle over the last couple weeks, that he seems to have high hopes for Lopez.
Yeah, definitely. And they've tried him in some unique spots. Against Vancouver, he came on late a few weeks ago and sort of played a second striker role, drifted well out to his left, nearly scored a great bending goal. And then he played a second striker type role against Austin. Comes in here, we'll see where he's deployed, but definitely some positional changes for Lopez, at least here in the preseason.
Beasley wins the header off the Griffith throw-in. Lopez fighting for it. Beasley will sweep it clear with the left foot. Great touch from Giles Barnes off his chest. Puts Brad Davis in. We got a 2-on-2, maybe a 3-on-2 if the Dynamo hurry. Brad Davis down the left wing. Cuts it back and loses his footing. The second or third time in the last 5 or 10 minutes we've seen a Dynamo player in a dangerous spot on the field lose his footing. This time, however, for Houston, it results in a set piece.
Yeah, I think a good call from the referee. Taylor Mueller there kept up with Davis, but he got his arm out. Knocked Davis over. Dangerous set piece for the Dynamo. Mueller was frustrated. I think the referee got that decision right.
Well, if you're Brad Davis, this is setting up real nicely for that left-footed service. Maybe a bit of an outswinger right into that area that we talked about before in the first half. Behind the defense, in front of the goalkeeper. Plenty of target options in there. Davis will send it in. Cleared away by the Battery defense, but only as far as Steinberger, and it's eventually corralled by the Battery goalkeeper. (0-0), half an hour to play here at Blackbaud Stadium, opener of the Carolina Challenge Cup between the Charleston Battery and the Houston Dynamo. One of the best preseason locales you could possibly hope for.
Yeah, 6th visit for the Dynamo. 3rd straight year they've been here. And as we said earlier, maybe the best 4 teams you could have if you're a Charleston Battery fan or a front office representative. You have the affiliate, the Dynamo, and the 2 newest teams to MLS, bringing some big stars to town. And as we said in the first half, 49 credentials applied for here for just this night alone.
Yeah, we were at the tail end of February. This was sold out before the turn of the calendar. I mean, this is late January when they sold out tonight's game. I think there's still a few tickets left for Wednesday, maybe a few tickets left for Saturday, a few more left for Wednesday. But Charleston has really always embraced this event, but you get the feeling with the star power coming this year, it's maybe taken to a whole nother level. Van Schaik coming across the middle, looking for an option, finds it in Taylor Mueller. DeMarcus Beasley first to it, he's hauled down from behind. Andy Reimer, the guilty party. Set piece for the Dynamo. DMB looks to play it quick to Garrido.
And we'll see, Sebastian, if anything changes tactically for the Dynamo. You have 2 new men at the back, 2 new forwards, and 2 in the midfield. And we'll see if Owen Coyle is trying anything differently with this group as Dynamo is searching for their first goal since Tucson, or actually since the Academy game a few weeks ago.
Chandler Hoffman just came off, had 2 goals in that one.
I think a big moment for Cochran and Horst. You know, I think a lot of people are assuming that Raul Rodriguez will start early on this season. I think one might think there's 3 guys fighting for one spot among David Horst, Jermaine Taylor, and A.J. Cochran. Of course, Rodriguez, not a guarantee to start, but given his pedigree and the move that was made, one might think he'd be a starter. But so big moments for these other center backs to try to stake their claim to a starting job early on.
Yeah, I remember last year A.J. Cochran was in the U.S. pre-Olympic camp, so this is a really big year for him as Jurgen Klinsmann and company begin to put that team together for the 2016 games down in Brazil.
And David Horst, quietly 31 games last year. There was a lot of injuries at the back, but Horst, an up and down season, I think you would say, but 31 games, that's a nice season to get that much playing time, and a guy that started from day one last year. And also interesting tactically, you have Raul Rodriguez shifting wide right, a position he played at times with Espanyol in Spain, but I think it gives options for Owen Coyle if Kofi Sarkodie might be gone with the national team at the Gold Cup perhaps, or injury or suspension. You have just a few more options for different combinations back there.
A.J. Cochran quickly sending it across. Long ball in from the right side. Alex Lopez trying to run onto it. Couldn't quite get it. Raul Rodriguez playing in the service from the back.
Good ball there from Cochran.
Cochran likes to play it out of the back. I mean, he sometimes takes chances in his distribution from the central defense position, but you can appreciate that he's a young player, not always willing to just go to the thump it route, tries to build out of the back, and really tries to play into forwards' feet. I think I like that, and I think forwards on any team are probably pretty appreciative of that type of service.
That was one thing we saw last year. His first start was at New England. Tough place to play on the turf against a very good team that eventually made MLS Cup. But he was confident in his distribution on his very first MLS start last year, and I think it carried over to the rest of the season. A guy that played in 20 games as a rookie, not every day, especially in Dynamo history, for a rookie in defense to get that much playing time.
Lopez on the switch finds DeMarcus Beasley, but Andy Reimer there to take it away. Sebastian Three will switch it now. Battery surging forward with Cordovez. His left-footed shot into the waiting arms of Joe Willis. No trouble there for the Houston Dynamo goalkeeper. Davis with time to turn on that left foot finds Lopez. Some good triangles starting to develop here for the Dynamo. Barnes, Garrido, Davis, Lopez all playing in close quarters in the center midfield. Boniek Garcia mixing in there as well. David Horse, ambitious switch, nearly picked out DeMarcus Beasley behind his man. Ball sails out of bounds though. Charleston will get a brief reprieve.
How a few more subs coming, Sebastian. You have Corey Ash coming in for DeMarcus Beasley. Similar time as he played. So pretty good for DeMarcus, getting 65 minutes twice in a 4-day span after going the same length against Austin. But he's probably nearing 90-minute match fitness, as are many of these players. Brad Davis has played a lot of minutes. Ricardo Clark before tonight had gone close to 90 minutes on a few occasions. But the core veterans getting a very good base here 2 weeks from opening night.
Steinberger sitting deep in midfield, pivots on the ball, will find Cochran. Cochran on that left foot. Long ball over the top, trying to pick out Davis. Davis and Mueller in a foot race. Mueller heads it away, but the Dynamo captain on it now. Circling back, finds Corey Ash, his first touch of the game on that left foot. Ash into the box. Meggs his defender, Quentin Griffith, but couldn't get around him. And the Dynamo, with a brief spark there, it'll end in a goal kick for Charleston.
Another of the changes, Sebastian, tough to keep up, but this is Kevin Corby, who came on at halftime for a Disnell Cooper, so a chance for Corby to impress and protect this 0-0 scoreline.
Cooper, one of the top 4 or 5 goalies in USL a year ago. Had 9 shutouts. I think that was second best in the 3rd division. Goal against average just over 1. So had a good campaign a year ago for the Battery. Sub coming here, Quentin Griffith. Checking out of the game. He'll be replaced. Stephen Campbell also set to check in to the game for the Battery. Looks like he'll replace J-Rad Van Schaik at left back.
The man number 13, he just goes by Ridge.
Okay.
So,
okay. The unnamed trialist. We do have a Charleston Battery player in the booth with us. He's helping us with our stats. Braden Troyer, I got to give you a shout out. And
you don't have to be Brazilian to have a one-word name.
Right. That's one of the interesting things of preseason. You know, sometimes you get that trialist X or whatever. Teams don't want you to know who they're starting. DC United did that the other night in a game. I think in Austin they just announced the player in the stadium as trialist. And that's a goal from the home side. Quick strike, and it's Austin Savage again. The Clemson University product has the Battery up 1-0.
Sebastian, very similar to Wednesday against Austin. The Dynamo dominating much of the night. And one of the real first opportunities for the USL side on goal. And I think Dynamo caught off guard. It just fell asleep at the back momentarily, and Battery take advantage. Now the Dynamo down a goal on the road.
Very similar script for Charleston as it was on Wednesday night. Savage got the game winner then, right around this time of the match. And right now, the former Clemson Tiger has the Charleston Battery up 1-0 and thinking upset against Major League Soccer's Houston Dynamo. Cool scene in the far corner of Blackbaud Stadium as Savage went to reunite with the fans. Bleachers starting to really fill in here as we get closer and closer to kickoff of the nightcap. Orlando City and NYCFC. Of course, you can watch that stream here as well. Matt and I will be down in the Three Lions pub. If you've not been to Blackbaud Stadium, and we keep mentioning this pub, it's just an incredible bar, essentially, here in the stadium. But what's incredible about it is the amount of memorabilia. I mean, and everything, not just English, continental European, the Brazilian World Cup jerseys with all sorts of cool autographs, soccer balls from the 1966 World Cup. I mean, just really some incredibly valuable and historic pieces that are definitely worth checking out if you're ever in the area. It's almost a Hall of Fame, a museum of sorts.
A lot of signed memorabilia, even in the bathrooms, and old school jerseys and program covers. Well, a big 20 minutes for the Dynamo. It is preseason. You don't want to make too much about it, but Owen Coyle is competitive. It's a new group. They want to make a good impression on the manager, and you don't want to lose 2 straight games, particularly to teams that on paper you should win, or on paper you should beat. Yeah,
I saw an interview. I think actually it was an interview you did with Coyle, Matt, where he talked about, these are the type of games we need to figure out how to win. And they may get back into it yet. Alex Lopez stinging it forward, trying to pick out his countryman Boniek Garcia in the box. Unable to do so. Kevin Corby, second half goalkeeper here for Charleston, out to collect the ball and now distribute for the Battery. Less than 20 to play here at Blackbaud Stadium. The Dynamo down a goal, 1-0. Charleston always a threat at this facility. Giles Barnes into space. A shot from distance takes a deflection. That'll be a corner kick for Houston. Brad Davis wasting no time getting across the field. The Dynamo captain, U.S. World Cup veteran, will send in what will likely be an in-swinger here with that magical left foot.
Sebastian, I believe, first corner kick of the night for the Dynamo.
Boniek Garcia, Luis Garrido atop the box, as well as Zach Steinberger. Rodriguez, Cochran. But it's Corby that punches away. Corey Ash, the last man in defense for Houston. Lobs it into the box, trying to pick out Rodriguez, headed away. Garrido on the ball. He'll switch the point of attack now to Boniek Garcia. Garcia opens it up. Brad Davis on his left foot, looking for space, cuts to the middle. Garrido now to Garcia. Alex Lopez. Can the Dynamo get service in? Overlapping run here. Right-footed service from Kofi Sarkodie. Cleared away by Charleston. Great turn from Lopez. Lopez on the ball in the final third. Serves it into the box, but it's blocked away. The Battery defense holding strong as they lead 1-0 in the 73rd minute. Joe Willis out to corral it for Houston, and he'll quickly put it in play with A.J. Cochran. Steinberger having some time and space. Chooses Giles Barnes as his option. Ball caught up in his legs, and the Battery come away playing. Sebastian Thierry flicks it out wide to the Magic Man, number 13. What's his name? The famous Ridge. Cordovez going to be whistled for offsides on the far side of the field. Raul Rodriguez operating right now essentially as a third center back, kind of right back. What do you think of that? Is that something that the Dynamo have been experimenting with quite a bit during preseason?
He played out there against Vancouver, the final of the Desert Friendlies, about a week and a half ago. So, as we said, he played out there at times for Espanyol, predominantly a center back, but he can play out wide. But I think a big time for some of these players, Corey Ash looking to insert himself as a viable option as a backup to DeMarcus Beasley or as a left-sided midfielder. You have a rookie, Zach Steinberger, some players on the field here that really want to make an impression as the Dynamo are down a goal.
Steinberger with a bit of a sloppy pass there, nearly picked off by Andy Reimer. Said Corey Ash will throw it in for the Dynamo. People forget Corey Ash, an MLS All-Star. Of course, replaced in the starting lineup last year by DeMarcus Beasley. Corey, after Beasley showed up, did get a few starts when DeMarcus was injured, especially at the end of the year, and I thought played quite well. Lopez lays it off for Barnes. Barnes gets to it first, but Mueller able to get enough on it and eventually cleaned up on the far side by Stephen Campbell. Garbanzo with his back to goal. Cordovez now. Cordovez one-on-one with David Horst. Good challenge here for the Dynamo defender. Uses his body well to poke it away. Get some help there from Corey Ash as well. Cochran, as the ball slips under his foot, he'll put Willis under some measure of pressure. Cordovez, not all that aggressive. Long ball out here and no options really for the Dynamo. Forrest Lasso on his left foot takes a bit of a long touch there, and Lopez with a quick chance to inbounds.
One sub coming for Charleston, Sebastian. Two more preparing to come on for the Dynamo. Rob Lovejoy, Lionel Miranda, both have had a nice first month with the club. Miranda from Argentina, Lovejoy drafted out of North Carolina. Had a great career there, won the 2011 National Championship. And
we got a sub here for Charleston as well, coming off the Cuban. Javier Cordovez on Stephen Jerome. Matt, we talked about the draft class that yielded Will Bruin, Kofi Sarkodie, but this year's draft class seems to be getting a lot of praise and potentially a lot of contracts from the Dynamo. These guys may all end up sticking on this team.
Here's Steinberger. Lost it in a dangerous spot. But you're right, there's 4 players still in camp who were drafted by the Dynamo this year. Steinberger signed with the league on the morning of the draft. 3 more still here with a chance to earn a contract. Would be 4 players signed from this single class. That'd be the most by the Dynamo in 1 year in team history.
Garbanzo dribbles around Davis, tries to keep it now, but Steinberger there has a Houston double team, wins the Dynamo the ball. Corey Ash now with some space, looks for Alex Lopez. Lopez trying to buy time. Didn't seem like he had the option he wanted. Instead, Luis Garrido will give it a shot. Finds Lopez. The Honduran connection there. Raul Rodriguez on it now. Trying to pick out Boniek Garcia. Garcia walks through a couple defenders into the box now. Garcia. And it's steered away by Lasso.
Yeah, Sebastian, a rare time with all 3 Hondurans on the field at once. Usually last year after Garrido's arrival, he played. Lopez couldn't get on the field at the same time, but Owen Coyle using all 3 here in the second half in Charleston.
As you mentioned, here come the Houston Dynamo subs. There's the captain, Brad Davis. Rob Lovejoy, Lionel Miranda. We haven't mentioned kind of the overall restructuring that the Dynamo underwent this offseason. Obviously, Dominic Kinnear moving on, returning to his roots in San Jose. Owen Coyle taking over as the head coach, but before Coyle was hired, Matt Jordan came in from Montreal to essentially become the general manager, the personnel guy for this Houston Dynamo organization. He made 2 trips, Argentina and Spain, and they both netted guys who at some point seem very likely to help this team a lot. You've got Raul Rodriguez, and now you've got Miranda here. He scored a nice goal at the beginning of preseason, has been a little bit inconsistent, I guess, since then, but certainly a guy that can add some pop in the final third.
Reimer's shown a yellow card by the referee, but yeah, Miranda's looked good. He's only 21 years old, 2.5 years under his belt in the top division in Argentina, one of the big clubs there, Independiente. Played in some big games, some big rivalry games, as Lopez serves from the right side. But a player that can play right mid, left mid, second striker, gives you more and more versatility, and pushing Brad Davis and Boniek Garcia in those positions.
Scored his goal versus Portland here on a season-long loan. Got some advanced stats here. You see him there. Possession heavily in favor of the visitors. But the Battery have made the more of their chances. Goal coming through Austin Savage in the 68th minute. Here's Lovejoy, another guy we've heard great things about. Trying to apply that pressure deep. Instead, he'll get called for the foul. The Battery get a bit of a break.
Yeah, Lovejoy's been a very nice player this preseason. You know, the third man selected by the Dynamo after Steinberger and Omar Ballo, but one of the fittest men in the early preseason fitness testing. And I think one thing the Dynamo like about him, he's definitely two-footed. He's on this left wing, but he can cut onto his right and very confident with both feet.
As a rookie, few things you can do that'll get you in the good graces quicker than coming in shape. Obviously easier for those guys as well. A little bit younger than some of the veterans. Bad turnover here for the Dynamo. A.J. Cochran, though, in a dogfight into the corner. He's going to earn the foul. No, he's going to get called for the foul. And this is going to be a very dangerous set piece for the Charleston Battery. 81st minute. They're already up 1-0. Now the home side looking for more.
Yeah, it looked like two men fighting it out. Stephen Jerome and A.J. Cochran. And the referee decided to give the free kick to Charleston.
Jerome got on the inside, on the goal side of A.J. Cochran. As a defender, you never want to be there, but nice recovery from A.J. to at least slow the attack. Here comes the service in. Flicked on by Lasso, and nobody there to finish it. Joe Willis first to it. Dynamo dodge a bullet. Here's Corey Ash trying to dribble out of the back. That's not going to work, but Ash gets stuck in on the second challenge. Ball last touched by Andy Reimer. Reimer, an active addition here in the second half, has had an impact on the right side. Steinberger now, deep in center midfield for Houston. It'll be Garrido spraying it wide.
There you see Miranda, never afraid to cut inside. He'll pick up the ball on the sideline, cut inside of the middle. Here he is, right at the center circle.
Yeah, some of the earlier reports had him as a winger, but he seems pretty comfortable moving freely throughout the field. Lasso heads away. Raul Rodriguez with an opportunity here. He'll play Lopez's feet. Dynamo may do well here just to switch things, as the Battery have slid 6 or 7 of their men to the far side of the field. Willis back over to Horst. Horst long switch, looking for Lovejoy, but never really a chance on that one. Kevin Corby plugged in off his line quickly to end that Dynamo attack. 83rd minute here at Blackbaud Stadium. The opener of the 12th annual Carolina Challenge Cup. Charleston Battery, Houston Dynamo. 1-0 home side. 68th minute goal from Austin Savage, the super sub. He's done it twice in the last 4 days for Charleston, on Wednesday in a victory over Jacksonville Armada. Rodriguez looking for Miranda. Dynamo in search of an equalizer. Lopez gliding across midfield. Springs it wide for Cochran. Cochran on his preferred left foot. Serves it into Lovejoy. Cochran again. Nice one-touch passing. Steinberger with the clever flick. Lopez on his right foot. Decides to pull it back again.
Could tell Barnes wanted it there. Lopez kept possession, though.
Miranda, the overlap. He'll get a chance to serve it in here from inside the box. Nails it across. Shot on the outside of the post. Just misses.
Corner kick to the Dynamo. That was Lovejoy sneaking in. Came close there, but good defending.
Clever run off the back stick. Found himself point blank in front of goal. May have taken a touch off a defender. Get a second look at the replay there. Corner kick coming in, 84th minute. Houston Dynamo trying to tie things up. Rodriguez towards the goal. Opportunity here for Houston. Steinberger now to Cochran, back to Steinberger.
Second chance in about a minute's time for Lovejoy. Really came close to scoring. The goalkeeper there sort of got blocked by a teammate. Very close chance for Houston.
Miranda into Barnes. Barnes turns, faces the Battery defense. Still has it. Trying to find his way out. Lovejoy an option. Miranda, 2 second half subs, trying to hook up. Unable to do so. The Battery doing well here, absorbing Houston's pressure. Garbanzo going to try and beat Corey Ash to it. Not likely to happen. Ash, one of the faster guys in all of Major League Soccer, especially in a straight line run. The Orlando City team making their way to the locker room. See former Dynamo midfielder Tony Cassio amongst them. Good to see him back in health after tearing his ACL last year. Reimer and Ash.
And Tally Hall apparently not on the trip, Sebastian. Still rehabbing back in Orlando after his ACL surgery, so no chance to see his former team. Should be a good battle, though. Tally Hall, Donovan Ricketts, 2 of the best in MLS over the last 5 or 6 years, and Orlando, a nice supply of goalkeepers.
Yeah, boy, Tally's 2013 season to me was just such a masterpiece. I mean, all 34 games, top to bottom, he was, if not the best goalie in the league, awfully close to it. The numbers maybe weren't there a year ago, but when you look at team goals allowed, it's as much about what's happening with the 10 guys in front of the goalkeeper as well. But Tally has that high end in him. Ricketts obviously does as well. At this age, the question is how much. Willis calm, but time is running out for Houston. 87th minute. Battery up, 1-0. Dynamo staring a second consecutive defeat in the face. Cochran low, long ball forward. Savage dumps it off. Lovejoy gonna get there first, plays it back to Ash. Ash to Garrido. Cochran again playing it quickly out of the back, picks out Miranda. Miranda will take every inch of space the defense gives him. Picks out Lovejoy. Corey Ash now into the attack. Dynamo running out of time. Alex Lopez, about 40 out. Will he spring it wide? Yes. Lopez and Savage in the corner. The Honduran into the box. Lopez drops it back. Shot. Miranda. Save. Turned away. Flag is up on the far side. And we're going to have offsides on Lopez.
What a great play, though. Nutmeg at the end line. Most expected across. He kept possession. Good chance there for the Dynamo. Just Miranda couldn't get through traffic. But that's the kind of play that so many Dynamo fans and part of the coaching staff have been hoping to see made. That was a great play.
Yeah, Alex Lopez is a special talent. It maybe hasn't shown in terms of statistics in Major League Soccer, but he has that ability to do kind of unique things in tight spaces. And that comes at a premium in this league. He showed it right there. Rodriguez looking for Barnes. Lasso, an effective, if not pretty, clearance off the top end of the bleachers. An alligator pond behind the goal.
Alligator ventured out to Dynamo practice a couple years ago here in Charleston.
I think I do remember that. There was an Instagram post or Twitter post about it or something. Didn't they Photoshop Brad Davis into it?
I'm sure they did.
I'm sure Brad wasn't dancing with the crocodiles. Tough physical battle here. The home fans do not like the result. Andy Reimer called for a foul. Working against Lovejoy. 89th minute. No sign yet. The fourth official, looks like now he may be about to let us know how much time will be added on here. Alex Lopez at midfield, very deep right now. Finds Miranda. Wide ball here to Rodriguez. Steinberger flashing into the middle. 30 yards from goal, drops it to Luis Garrido. Garrido surging forward. Lays it off for Lopez. Again, lots of possession for the Dynamo. We just saw the statistic, but not a whole lot of danger here in the second half. Cochran joining the attack. And boy, this is an obvious foul, and I think we got a yellow card coming against Steinberger. Although I don't know that the rookie had many options. Got to take down Ricky Garbanzo right there. If not, 17's off to the races.
Yeah, Sebastian, it's been tough. Giles Barnes basically acting as a lone striker. Lopez seems to have dropped off so much to get the ball. Lovejoy and Miranda pushing high, but Barnes going 1 against 2, 1 against 3 with Charleston protecting the lead at home. It's a tough group to break down right now for the Dynamo.
Still some time left as we wait on the sign from the fourth official. There it is, 3 minutes added here at Blackbaud Stadium. That'll be all the Dynamo get as they hope to go in search of an equalizer. Houston pouring forward now. Alex Lopez to put it in play, drops it for Raul Rodriguez, formerly of FCD Español in La Liga. Ball across the middle, well off the mark. Steinberger can't get to it. Instead is Horst Cochran. Cochran again, looking to distribute out of the back, but the battery defense very well set. Sebastian Thury loses the ball there, stays down at midfield. Garrido to Miranda, on the far side. Garrido pushing forward again. Time running out here for Houston. A.J. Cochran now jumping in to join the attack. Another sloppy pass across the middle, and that'll cost the Dynamo possession and a few more valuable ticks of the clock. Charleston looks like they could be getting ready to make one last sub here. Head coach Mike Anhauser on the verge of a big win this early in preseason against this type of competition. The Dynamo fielding, at least for the first 60 minutes, which you'd have to assume is pretty close to Owen Coyle's starting lineup. So the battery very close to an impressive result.
Yeah, Sebastian, there you saw Giles dropping very deep for one of the first times since coming on, being the lone striker, trying to make a play, draws a foul. Big set-piece chance here as the Dynamo look for the late equalizer. Big boys forward, Horst, Cochran. Barnes get on the end of it, Raul as well. Rodriguez came close Wednesday against Austin.
Lionel Miranda will offer up the service. The Argentine newcomer, a versatile midfielder. Zach Steinberger creeping now towards the box. It'll just be Corey Ash all by his lonesome as the final defender along with Joe Willis. Looks like Thury is going to come out. He'll be replaced by Ralph Lundy. The injured battery player gets a standing ovation from the fans here at Blackbaud Stadium. Lots of interesting jerseys here. I mentioned a lot of Orlando City jerseys early on, but you see some James jerseys, a lot of Real Madrid, obviously Kaká for Orlando City. Here comes the set-piece service. Alex Lopez first to it. Can't steer it in the right direction. This will go out of bounds, though. The Dynamo maintain possession. Closing in on the end of this one. Houston trails 1-0 against the Charleston Battery Austin Savage. What would be the game winner in the 68th minute. Steinberger wheels it back to Ash. Corey. Back to Steinberger. Knocks it into the box. Giles Barnes. Brave challenge. Wins it first. Dynamo maintain possession. Steinberger, a long-distance effort. Closed down, but Barnes still has it. And the battery will clear forward here. Charleston with a great opportunity for a 2-on-1. Let's see how aggressive they are. Stephen Jerome. Chased down by Luis Garrido, but he opens it up for Andy Reimer. Reimer taking it to the corner. Seems like no interest in crossing it here. He gets hacked down by Garrido. The fans want a foul call. They're going to get it. And the Battery content here to let some more time run off this clock as they inch closer and closer to an upset.
Yeah, smart play there, Andy Reimer. A lot of players might have wanted to get that goal here in front of the home fans, but a smart play, took it to the corner. Time is on Charleston's side.
Full credit to Jerome as well as he held up the play. Looked for Reimer. Battery still with the ball in the far corner. And that's going to do it. The ovation from the Blackballed faithful tells you all you need to know. The Battery have pulled off an upset 1-0 tonight over the Houston Dynamo in the opener of the 12th annual Carolina Challenge Cup.
Yeah, Sebastian, definitely against the run of play, but Austin Savage, a man who's been around here for a few years, rose to the moment. Just a good take from about 20 yards out. Willis, I don't think he saw it till very late and just snuck in at that near post. But the Dynamo now, a few days of training, and then a game Wednesday against New York City FC, looking to end this mini two-game slide here in preseason.
Never want to overreact to a preseason game, that's for sure. So we see the Battery players beginning their celebration. Dynamo have gone a couple games without scoring. We mentioned not many opportunities in this one, but certainly some. Saw an active performance from Brad Davis, Giles Barnes getting in late, Corey Ash getting some minutes as well. The health of the team certainly intact. Other than Ricardo Clark, we mentioned him earlier in the broadcast, a little bit under the weather. He couldn't go tonight, but nothing serious for the Dynamo midfielder. He is a key part of what Houston likes to do, though, so that absence could have hurt the men in orange this evening.
Coming up next, we have Orlando City and New York City. The New York City FC radio team will bring you that call right here on Charleston Battery's YouTube channel. And
Glad to have you back with us here at Blackbaud Stadium. Sebastian Salazar, Matt Peterson in the aftermath of a 1-0 Charleston Battery win over the Houston Dynamo to open up the 12th annual Carolina Challenge Cup. Matt, you were just telling me the Dynamo have an off day tomorrow, but they'll be training in South Carolina throughout the rest of the week, right?
Yeah, Monday and Tuesday, a couple double sessions planned, game Wednesday against New York. You talked about a little bit, Sebastian, just the line between MLS and USL, and I think you saw it tonight. The difference on many nights isn't much, maybe more consistency from the MLS players, maybe more names, but I think the last couple of games, Austin and Charleston have done USL proud. Yeah,
absolutely. Charleston really looked composed, and again, we have to mention they've only been in preseason for a week. Last Saturday, they played College of Charleston in a 120-minute scrimmage, and that was kind of the effective beginning of their training. So head coach Mike Anhauser, he's always had a penchant for upsetting those first division teams. His team does so again tonight, 1-0. The goal coming from Austin Savage in the 68th minute. The Clemson product, the hero for a second straight game for Charleston. He also scored the game winner midweek against Jacksonville Armada FC. For Matt Peterson, I'm Sebastian Salazar. We are going to sign off, and when we return, you'll have the second half of today's doubleheader, Orlando City and NYCFC from Blackbaud Stadium, the second game of the first night of action at the 12th annual Carolina Challenge Cup.
They have a really good group. They got this guy, Lenny Santiago's like the VP, and he's legit. You can just tell he's good. And then they have a guy like, I guess in my role, who